The fallen leaves tell a story.
I am Jay of Hay, completer of pledges, and Malenia has tasted defeat.
Oh, that was so easy.
Welcome back, Classic Crew. I'm happy to say for the first time on this channel, pledge complete. I have successfully found and defeated all 165 bosses in Elden Ring without using any summons. I made this pledge so long ago. I think it was April when I made this pledge. The last time I left you, there were 11 bosses, but I have to say, once one wall fell, it was a domino effect and everything fell. So I actually snuck in 2 streams to get to this point, but let me recount. First up, Malenia. I've tried so many different ways to beat this one. So many different weapons, so many different strategies. And what ended up working was my original strategy of the whips. I went back and I just put on as much armor as I could. Oh, I lied. I grinded a few more levels. So I actually grinded about 10 levels, which brought me up to I believe the late 140s or so, about 148. And I maxed up my whips all the way, which was like 1 extra level for each of them. And I went at it, and phase 1 Malenia, I had pretty down. I could consistently get to phase 2. It was phase 2 I didn't understand. And I ditched the swords. I didn't ditch the bleed. I kept the bleed on the whips. But phase 2, the biggest challenge was I was scared. And I shared this in the last journal where I just need to be comfortable, to observe her, and to just, you get comfortable and you dodge and you hit. And that's exactly what I did. I started seeing the patterns. Your brain just like learns. And I learned too, I noticed that my whips were interrupting her. So sometimes she'd like charge up and come with a stab and I just like whip and it would stop her. I was like, oh, that's new. So I kept slowly getting more and more aggressive with my playstyle until eventually she went down and I started getting so comfortable with all of her attacks. Like the waterfowl dance, man, that thing's easy to dodge. And watch, the editor's probably gonna show you the time I got hit with it. Most of the time I can hit the waterfowl, I can dodge the waterfowl dance. Every other thing I can, for the most part, dodge. The Valkyrie one is probably the one I have the least practice with, which is when she like spawns clones and kills you with that. So I'm glad she didn't do that too often. I've also learned, because I used to run away so much, that would have her charge and do these big attacks on me. If you fight in closer proximity to her, she doesn't use those attacks as much. She'll try to kick you, she'll whoosh her sword at you, and those are a lot more manageable to dodge. And so it all came together. I didn't get too greedy. I saw the opportunity. I'm like, nope, just take your time. Dodge this, hit this, dodge this, jump and whip and finish her off.
Ha! Oh, so clean.
So with Malenia down, I was like, all right, who's next? Let's go after Mogh.
I was really expecting to do more damage there.
Now with Malenia dead, I could go back to my OG strength dexterity build, get my 2 great swords out, the ones I've been using for most of my playthrough, and get back to jumping and smacking. And I have to say, it took me a few tries to get back into the routine of kind of waiting for the big damage to happen. But once I got into the flow, these other bosses, they all fell easily. Estelle, Stars of Darkness, biggest bullshit ever. I hate this thing more than Malenia. In fact, I don't even hate Malenia. I actually enjoy Malenia. For the record, I do not hate Malenia. She's a fun fight. I do think she's fair, actually. And come at me if you think she's bullshit or anything. She is a fantastic fight. I love her. Estelle, however, is garbage. The camera work on this thing is garbage. I hate fighting it. I just didn't have a good time, so
I hate that. I hate that. That's instant death, isn't it?
Then I went to the Deathrite Bird, which is in the Forgotten Snowlands or whatever. This thing surprisingly fell down pretty fast, but what was near it was this like walking mausoleum which shoots projectile stars or whatever at you. That thing was hard to get close to and was deadly. One of those hits takes about half my life. In that same area, there was another Great Worm left. I think his name was Great Worm Theodorus, or Tio as they call him. He was also, he's a big chunky boy, so it was pretty easy to just dodge him, smack him a few times, and repeat. Then near there was a cave, and there was a misbegotten warrior in there. Not much to say about that too, other than the cave sucked. There were some enemies that were just destroying me constantly. So I'm like, screw this. I'm going to run to the boss and kill the misbegotten warrior. Then there was another cave not too far in that area, which held a putrid grave warden duelist, which died so easily. But the cave itself was BS. There were things that could like 1 to 2 hit me, 2 shot me. There were these like walls that were freezing me. It was just the level I hated. The boss was nice and cushy and nice and easy. And then I was like, oh man, I'm running out of like, fluffer bosses before I have to go back to Mogh or Godfrey. Let's go see the bell-bearing hunter. And I must have been so freaking lucky here. I just went crazy on him. He just he summons, and I just like took out half his health just by wailing on him before he even attacks. He starts attacking, I just start doing my jump attack, and the jump attacks have iframes, which somehow protected me enough for me to kill the bell-bearing hunter on the first try of that stream. Then there was Placid Dusek, so that was an amazing fight. It wasn't too hard once you figure out where you need to dodge. The first phase is you just stick close to him and you get out of the lightning, which easier said than done. And the second phase is when it's really cool because he gets this like really cool teleportation ability, and it's a spectacle fight. A lot of people call it a spectacle, and I agree with them. It's just like, oh, what's happening? And there's like these red clouds popping, and all of a sudden he just comes out and manifests, and then he just swipes you. The swipe is I found it really easy to dodge, but it was just so cool to see like such a huge arena, a huge dragon, and him just coming at you and swiping and teleporting everywhere. I did enjoy that fight as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't give me too much problems. So from there, I was left with Godfrey, Mogh, and the boss at the end. So Mogh I despise, so I decided to focus on Godfrey. And I made it to phase 2 of Godfrey, which was such a nice surprise. I eventually got into the flow of how to fight him with his axe. Very like strong, powerful, and I could see it. And once I got into the dodging timing of him, it just felt so rewarding. He's like whoosh whoosh, and I'm like, oh,
I thought it was gonna swing, not stab.
so when he finally I knew he had a phase 2, and people said it was something about a stand, so I figured it would be like the fight in Bloodborne with the Pope where he summons a stand, which I hate that fight, by the way. So I was really dreading phase 2, but I was so shocked in a positive way that he takes the lion on his shoulder. He's like, get out of here. And he tosses his axe aside. I'm like, oh, he's coming at me barehanded. And he comes at you as Horhalu. I think that's how it's pronounced. And he just punches you and he kicks you. And the first fight I had with him, he destroyed me and he killed me with a power bomb. And I was laughing the whole time because I was so entertained. I was like, I don't care. I don't care that you are beating me. Please punch me harder. It felt like such a twist. And it was pure like strength that was beating me that I couldn't be mad at it. I just was so pleased at seeing this display of strength, even though it was my body, my virtual body taking all the pain.
Oh no! I can't even hate that, but it hurts so much.
I love this boss design. I love what they did with him. And even when you die to him, at least in phase 1, he doesn't piss on you. He doesn't laugh at you. He's like, you fought honorably. You don't warrant the strength. A crown warrants strength, and you did not warrant it. And it's not like he's not being cheeky. He's just being real. He's like, I'm strong. I got the crown. Where's your strength? Show me your strength, and you get the crown. And then I beat him.
Yes! I got it! Oh, it wasn't clean, but I got it. I'll take it.
So there was no way I was going to go and finish the game without finishing my business with Mogh. So I went back to Mogh. I did, since the last time, get the tier that lets me basically face tank or not get hit by his like kneel. That's what he says, not kneel. So I was able to get through that, but I was still dying like crazy to his phase 2. I just could not get the timing to phase 2 down. And after I finally did beat him, people say I still didn't learn anything. Apparently I was trading blows with him. Whatever. I hate that fight too, just because it's so messy. Everywhere you step, you're either on fire, bleeding, and you're trying to find a place to stand and look, and he just flies at you and he's stabbing you and he's making you kneel everywhere. Oh! Then I got to see what's inside the tree. Much to my surprise, there it was the queen, Marika, who was also the guy, Radagon. So these were names I was really like paying attention to many journals ago. So I was really shocked to see both of them there, and both of them as the same body. I was a little confused with what's going on there. I'll need to look up some lore videos. But anyways, let's talk about the fight. This fight, most like epic music. And I know it's the menu music, but it's not just the menu music. It is a little bit resynced to be more epic, and it really hits in a good, positive way. Awesome arena, and at first, again, I was getting punished, but I was laughing because it was warranted. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just in awe of this endgame boss. I'm like, well done. This is a good endgame boss. I eventually got more comfortable with the timing, learned when to dodge, when to roll. It all comes down to timing, really. All these like good bosses are mostly rhythm design. You learn when to hold, when to roll, when to attack, and through trial and error it happened. I did get to display to everyone that yes, Radagon does grab. A lot of people didn't know that he grabbed you with your hammer. So once again, I displayed that move for the chat to see a few times, just in case they missed it the first time. So we learned that Radagon grabbed. And I eventually got into the flow, killed him, unlocked the Elden Beast, which is the final boss of the game. And this thing was majestic. I died to it a few times. What really threw me off is when it would fly and it would start like shooting needles at you. I tried to outrun it, couldn't dodge it. Or I tried to dodge it, couldn't dodge it. Turns out you have to run it, but I don't know. When he swung his sword, I could dodge that easily. When he swung it and there was like an energy beam coming out of it, I dodged that pretty comfortably. And everything else just kind of came together. He had this big like ring thing, which was confusing and hitting me a lot at the beginning, but I learned you can roll through it or you can jump over it. So the Elden Beast was slain. All the bosses were slain, and there I was, and I was like, do I become the Lord of Chaos? Or I think I am. Do I unleash the Lord of Chaos? Or do I heal myself and get a good ending? And in true, proper, chaotic nature, I was like, screw it. Let's burn the world. And so I got the chaotic god ending. I think it's called the Lord of Chaos. And it was quite disappointing. I just basically set everything aflame, which that was disappointing, but I was and then we got Torrent. We saw that I also killed Torrent, which was sad. But we got the other lady, my first maiden, who is like on a revenge quest for me. And I thought that was cool. Seeing that clip where she's just like, I will find you and I will kill you. And then there was a secret boss that was only available to me as a streamer. So after everything was said and done, the chat was like, we are next. And so I got to go back to Limgrave. I pulled a finger that lets me summon adversaries, and basically a bunch of people from chat logged in, not just to show their drip, but we did duels, and I learned that you don't heal during duels. I made that mistake in my first duel, but afterwards we had this whole thing. We would summon a member of chat, we'd bow, and then we'd go at it. And I was doing pretty good against chat. I think in the first sets, I was winning most of them. I lost to a few of them. You guys know who you are, and the editor's probably going to display who I lost to. And then as people started seeing my one-trick pony of jump smash or using my like anime maneuver, I started losing more because I was just pure strength, whereas they were kind of doing some more fancy stuff with magic and everything. And I was just showing like, no, all strength. This is how you do it.
Died to the blood.
And then I went to the Coliseum to try the new content with some of the members of chat. So you go into the Coliseum. We were 6 players. It was a free-for-all. It was pretty fun because not everybody just jumped on me, which is what I was expecting. Everybody was kind of going at it in their own way. Like you basically attack whoever's next to you. There was no alliances. It was awesome. And there was one, I don't know who it was, but there was someone in there who was a creeper. His name was Creeper, and they were all like painted green, and their only attack was to run at people and blow up. I was like, how is this doable? How did they do that? So that was the final chapters of my journal, and this is where we are now. Elden Ring is under my belt. How does it compare to all the other games? I definitely preferred it a lot more than Bloodborne. I have to say I liked it more than all of the Soulsborne. It's way better than Dark Souls 1, which I didn't really enjoy that much. But there's still so much I don't know about it. I still actually don't know what it's like to fight with summons. I don't know what it's like to really use too many spells because none of them really drew me in. I'd have to force myself to play with spells to really appreciate it. And I just want to say in hindsight, like some people are saying, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done the pledge without summons. Looking back, I have zero regrets. Zero regrets. I did not want to play with summons to get a certain experience. And I'm so happy I did because I got exactly what I wanted. A lot of these fights like Malenia, let's talk Malenia. I know I could have summoned, and I've seen other strategy where people summon, and having a summon lets the boss, it takes some aggro off of you so that you can get a few more free hits in and do a little bit more damage on the boss. So it helps you finish the fights faster, but it removes that pressure that I was looking for to really learn how to fight bosses. I could not have defeated Malenia if I did not learn all of her movesets. Same thing with Godfrey or some of these other like main bosses. Having to go at them solo forced me to learn how to play them, how to dodge, how to find the openings. And some people can do that with the summons, but I would have leaned way too much on the summons as a handicap had I not done this. So I'm really glad I did this pledge. It was not as bad as I thought it would be. Malenia was a wall, and I was expecting it to be a wall, and I would have been really disappointed if she wasn't a wall. So everything played out pretty nice. Honestly, if there's one thing I'd say I'm disappointed in is I was hoping Elden Ring would have had more of its story would have been less abstract than, say, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne. It's the same construct. The story is as cryptic as all the other games, which is good for the fan base. But for me, going into this game, which seemed to have more mainstream appeal, you know, I had R.R. Martin writing it. I thought that there would have been a little bit more story given to the players who aren't into the cryptic stuff. And that's just a disappointment. I'm not going to knock the game for it because it is that kind of game and there is an audience for that. And now I have to go and see all the other endings and read the lore and learn about it so I can appreciate it more. Will I return to the land between? I definitely think I will. I mean, to go back and experience it with all the knowledge I've accumulated is something I want to do. I even want to do that with Dark Souls 1. These are games that just attract you to go back because once you've learned them, it's like, okay, let me see you again now that I know what's what and what's going to happen. And let me try these new things. These games have that appeal, which is why I will be playing them again somehow. But for now, I'll leave it at that. I might do a full review of Elden Ring, looking at the whole game as a whole from my experience, but this is the end of my journal, the end of my journey, the end of my pledge. And what's next for this channel? Well, I will be announcing my next pledge. It might not be a game you expect. In the meantime, I'm going to be moving some of my old videos that are on HeyJ from my Dark Souls 1, 3, and Bloodborne journeys. I'm going to move those over here. And otherwise, I'm going to get ready for my next pledge of this channel as I finish my other 2022 pledges from other content. So hopefully I'll see you on those next journals. Let me know in the comments below if you have suggestions or ideas on what you would like to see on this channel for next game journey. It has to be something hard where I die a lot. And otherwise, I will see you on the next stream, on the next video, or anywhere else in the HeyJ world. Until then, keep it classy.